everyone. It's Dr. Jasmine, your natural health and wellness guide. Thanks so much for joining me today. So, today's video is going to be dedicated again to stress. So, last time we explored stress and how it's just like this inevitable part of life because with change comes stress, and we know that the only constant in life is change. So today, I really want to dedicate our time together to exploring some of the common stressors we all either go through or may find ourselves in. I then want to jump into a couple of the stress relieving activities that we can do, some of the ones that I like, and others that you can, just make a part of your life to manage stress levels. And then I'll finish up with talking about some of my favorite herbal remedies that just kind of help us relax during the stressful times we need that little extra support. All right. So first, let's talk about some of these stressful events, right? Now, as we kind of talked about last time, stress to your body, it doesn't really care where it came from. It could be mental, emotional, physical. Stress is stress to your body. And some of the stressful events in our life that can happen can be both happy and some that are just more innately painful. So things like marriage, divorce, death of a loved one, injury or illness, imprisonment, having a child, losing a child, planning a wedding, buying a house, job loss, a new job or role, financial stressors, maybe have too much money, maybe not enough, moving, things at work, and much, much more. So as we kind of think about that list I just went through, some of these things are great. I know I described last time, like I loved getting married, but man, was it stressful planning a wedding, right? And marriages have their ups and their downs, their good times, their stressful times. Sometimes we go through separations or divorces, and a lot of the things are just part of life and living. So sometimes I think we think of stress as like, oh, this big event that happened, sometimes we think of a stressor is maybe as it's compared to someone else, right? Just because I've gotten married and already planned a wedding doesn't mean that my quote unquote smaller stressors of my marriage aren't just as important. Or, you know, maybe someone feels like, oh, I haven't lost my parent. So the maybe difficult relationship I have with them can't be considered a stressor because my friend lost a parent. So that's one thing too. I think sometimes we have to take a step back and try not to compare our stressors to others, because even though someone's stress may look differently than yours and it might on paper look more stressful, doesn't mean that your lesser stressor isn't having, a negative impact on you in your life. And, in this case, what we're talking about, our hair, right? So, as you can see, all these things have probably touched us or may potentially touch us in our future. And, that's life, right? Now, I always like to think about stress as something that humans, we are naturally drawn to, right? We're naturally stressed beings. I mean, if you think about when we're born, the first thing we do literally is scream our heads off and cry. I remember when I had my son, I was laying on the table. We had to have a C-section. He just would not dilate. So with the tears in my eyes, all I could see, after of course how gorgeous he looked, all I could see was how pissed he was. He was crying and screaming, and I could just imagine him thinking, why is it so bright in here and why is it cold? Who took me from my warm, squishy home and unlimited food supply, right? He was not happy, and he definitely expressed this stressful change through his, expression very vividly. And I'll never forget that. But if we think about it, that's the way we come into the world, right? We are born, and our physiology just tends toward this stressful reaction. And this is normal. This is expected. I mean, that's our flesh, if you will. So once we start to understand that this is our norm, how do we change that, right? And how do we give ourselves grace when sometimes maybe we do blow up? Maybe sometimes we do get frustrated and we do let stress get the best of us. How do we start to manage and train our bodies to do something different? So knowing that is something we can't really get rid of, this is like our normal kind of go-to, and acknowledging that this is a part of who we are, we now start to learn how to regulate. Even again, kind of going back to babies, when they're hungry and they're tired or they're wet, they scream, right? They're like, this is stressful. I'm going to freak out until mom or dad comes and changes me and gets me out of this stressful situation. Well, as they grow and learn, they have other ways to cope with that uncomfortableness or that stressfulness. They learn how to talk and communicate and, go tap mommy and say, hungry, eat, instead of screaming their heads off. And that's how we learn as we get older. We start to learn these management strategies. And if we, more than likely unknowingly learn destructive coping mechanisms, or don't learn anything at all, we oftentimes find ourselves in endless states of anxiety, depression, worry, nervousness, and these just stressful cycles. And unfortunately, this doesn't just affect our mental or our emotional, but it affects our physical too. And that's when we start to see, tons of medical conditions, but in this space, we start to see our hair either fall out or grow very slowly or not at all. So stress, again, right? It's inevitable. It's part of life. So how do we deal with it, right? How do we get out of this thought of how do I get rid of the stress and get into this space of how do I manage it, right? How am I going to train my body, to manage the stress response that I know I'm going to have? Right? And as we start doing this is how we start to get ourselves out of that never-ending cycle of stress and worry and all of the physical symptoms that come with it. Well, just like training for anything in life, it does take time. So I say that to say, don't expect this to happen overnight, okay? If you've been going decades of your life not knowing how to manage stress, you're not going to know how to do it tomorrow. With my clients, I always like to share, it's like expecting to run a marathon after you've been sitting on your couch not doing anything for 6 months, right? If you get up off your couch after not doing anything, not walking, not jogging, nothing, and you try to run a marathon, you're either going to fail or it's going to be really, really, really hard for you to actually accomplish that goal. And just like with a marathon, you would train every day or every week, or you would have this like plan to get you to this end goal of running a marathon. Same thing with relaxation, stress management, things like yoga, meditation, deep breathing exercises. The first time you do them, it's going to be really uncomfortable. You're like, oh my God, why am I doing this? My mind is not clear. I don't get why people benefit from this. And that's okay. It's part of the process. It's part of the journey, right? Like, the first time you ran, either when you were little or maybe you started running, in your older life, it probably hurt or felt really weird and uncomfortable. But the more you do it, the more you stick with it, the more your body starts to develop this muscle memory. It starts to be trained to handle what it is that you're putting it through. And when we do that, when it comes to stress management, this helps us to better engage our adrenal glands so that they don't just like fly off the handle every time we go through something stressful, right? And then when we get to those large, big stressors, we're getting married or we're getting a new job or we're moving, and these changes happens, our adrenals are like, okay, I've been trained for this. I can do this. And we either can prevent some of the negative sequelae of stress or at least reduce it significantly than if we hadn't been doing these things. Now, you're probably like, well, Dr. Jasmine, I don't have an hour a day to meditate or do yoga or any of that. And honestly, I don't have an hour a day either to do that. And it doesn't take that long. Like, it doesn't have to take a full hour of your day. If you want it to, great. The more, the merrier. But in as little as 5-10 minutes, a few times a week to every day, research, science. I'm not just like spitting this at you. Like, research has shown it can significantly reduce cortisol levels or that stress hormone levels in your body. 5-10 minutes. Even a 30-minute walk can do that for you. Even reading something very relaxing can do that for you. Now, you might be thinking, well, okay, maybe I have 5 minutes, maybe I have 10 minutes, but I've never done this before. And you're like, well, where do I go? That's okay. Uh, you don't have to necessarily, you know, just jump into a quiet space and meditate that way. Because if you're like me, you're probably going to fall asleep. I remember the first time I did it, I literally like was snoring. I was snoring, guys. So you could do like a guided meditation, or even if you're a writer. I'll be honest, I am not the best writer, but if you are, getting a pen and paper, or even on your laptop, or even on your phone, writing down just kind of your thoughts, what's coming to mind, and let it flow. And that can be a really good way to transfer some of that stressful, anxious energy onto a canvas, and you can really see it and get a better understanding of what you're feeling. And just that physical act of getting it out can be very stress relieving too. Other things that you can do are exercise, right? If you like to take walks, if you like to go for a run or a jog, if you like to dance. I love Zumba. It's actually kind of coming up this summer. My aunt does Zumba in the park. In the summers, is something me and my family we love to do. You can go swimming or team sports like tennis and basketball. You can, do these things to just take a step away from all the stressors that life kind of throws at you. Something else to do is spend time with your family and friends, and the ones that love you, the ones that care about you and support you, right? Not that uncle or cousin that maybe you don't get along with, but the people that are really there for you. That can be a really great way to feel that love and that community, and to help those stress levels just kind of reduce. Self-care days like spa days, or a nice bath, or reading a good book can be a really good way too at managing your stress levels. Now, I do still recommend some type of deep breathing or meditation daily, even if it's just for 5 minutes, because things like spending time with family, things like a spa day or a nice bath, they're wonderful. Don't get me wrong, but I can't go to my mom's house every day. I can't. I really don't have the time to just take a nice relaxing bath every day, or do a spa day every day, So that 5 minutes of meditation or deep breathing or yoga, these are really good ways for just like daily reinforcement of, okay, how am I regularly training my stress response to be very even keel as much as possible, of course. Now, this 5 minutes, if you're like me, if you have a religious practice, you can do these things together. Like, they're not separate. Definitely not. Prayer and meditation on, your religion are one and the same. Okay, they're not separate. So, like for me personally, every morning before I wake up my baby, I read my Bible. I like to take 5 minutes after that and just meditate on what I just read, right? Listen to what God wants to reveal to me for that day, and really just take that time to listen and to be still. And when I'm really going through it, in life, it's just like, Jasmine. I always go back to this verse. It's 1 Peter 5:6-7. Humble yourselves, therefore, under God's mighty hand, that he may lift you up in due time. Cast all your anxiety on him, because he cares for you. This is that reminder to me that there's someone bigger and greater than me, my situation, and that my stress, and that he has my back and my best interest at hand. It's just that nice reminder, right? This is what I like to do for like my spirituality. But sometimes those physical feelings of stress, you feel like crying, you feel like screaming, but you have work, you have a family, you have life to continue to live. So sometimes we get that anxiety and that uneasiness or nervousness, and we want something that just kind of, right, helps us to not feel so much of that as we continue to move forward. Now, there are definitely like prescriptions out there that you can consider, but there are lots of herbs on hand that we can use and go towards maybe first, or, of course, in conjunction with your doctor, maybe together, to help us reduce those feelings that we get that sometimes can leave us feeling stuck, right? So some of my favorite are herbs that are called relaxing or nervine herbs. So my favorites are lemon balm, valerian roots, lavender, passiflora, scutellaria, mimosa, chamomile, and hibiscus. Now, lemon balm I love not only because it's relaxing, but it's also anti-inflammatory. And we've been talking a lot about that. And it's antiviral. So if you do have like a cold or something, you can always use this one as well. Lavender, chamomile, passiflora. These are beautiful flowers, but also research shows them to be very relaxing to the nervous system. They're even like chamomile, especially is used in a lot of like teething products to help babies when they're, going through that stressful time of teething. Valerian root. Now this one is a little potent. This is really great if like you have anxiety before bed. This can be really great at helping you get some sleep. Mimosa and scutellaria. These are other really great herbs that affect our neurotransmitters. So mimosa affects the serotonin receptors, and scutellaria actually has been shown to increase GABA, two very calming, relaxing neurotransmitters. And then finally, hibiscus. Now this one is really known for its high blood pressure reducing effect, which is really nice for those who, when we get stressed, our blood pressure goes up with it, right? So it's going to be very relaxing, but it's also a diuretic. So all that excess fluid that might be causing our heart to work a little harder can be released. To one, of course, help us relax, but two, to help reduce that blood pressure. So if you are using hibiscus, be aware it probably is going to make you pee. So just kind of keep that in mind. Now these herbs are great. You don't have to use them all. Pick one or a couple and kind of keep them on hand for yourself. You can do this by adding it to a tea or capsules, or adding it to like a lemonade. Spring is here. Summer's right around the corner. So nice, relaxing lemonade or a tea can be really nice. Sit on your porch or something and really enjoy those herbs, but also some quiet time. Now, if it's your first time using some of these herbs, especially that valerian, use caution, okay? Some of these are really relaxing. If you have to like drive or use heavy machinery the next day, you might not want to use these for the first time. So definitely, use it on like an off day or a weekend to kind of see how your body reacts, because we all react differently, okay? So there you have it. Stressors, again, they're a part of life, good and bad, and our natural instinct is just kind of run towards stress. So it's our job to be consistent with managing and training our bodies to handle it appropriately. Plus, there's so many herbal remedies out there, guys. Give them a try. Drop me a comment. Tell me your favorite ways to manage your stress, or what Bible verse you run to when you need some encouragement. I'm definitely looking for more. And then, if you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. Thanks so much for joining me, guys. May God bless you in your health. Bye.